Welcome to World Kitchen. It's been a few weeks, so I'm glad to see so many of you joining us. I hope you're excited for World Kitchen Tunisia. I'm very excited because my guest chefs have been here for a bit and I've seen all the prep work and smelled all the delicious things that are going to happen. So I'm very excited, and I'm so sorry that you're not going to be here to try it, but not really, because I want it all. So I want to introduce my guest chefs and then I will let them take it away. Don't forget that if you have a question, you can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask the question and they will answer you. I do ask that if you're not in asking question mode, you go ahead and keep yourself muted just to keep things quiet. So I would like to introduce you to my friends. This is Zubeida Unayes and Sue Carpenter and their daughter Rania. Come on in.
Hi, everybody. We've been so excited and so looking forward to this. Thank you, Tamara, and thank you, Alex, for doing the tough work behind the scenes. So welcome. We are going to share with you today. I don't mean to stand in front of my two sweeties. What we're going to do is share with you three of our maybe most favorite recipes from Tunisia. Usually cook these on weeknights or on weekends. And so what we've tried to do is we're going to show you some shortcuts so they are manageable within, say, 90 minutes from start to finish. I'm going to let Steve and Rania talk if they'd like, but in lieu of introduction, what I wanted to say is, well, first of all, as a Tunisian, I'm excited to share with you the food I grew up with. Tunisia is in North Africa, right? It's also part of the Middle East, an Arab and Muslim country. It's on the Mediterranean. And so because of all these different identities, our food, I feel, is very unique. It's really influenced by the geographical location of the country. And it's influenced by Turkish, by European, African, of course, Arab and Mediterranean, I guess, influences. Did I say influence enough? And so a lot of the things that we cook may be very Tunisia and not necessarily found in other North African or Arab or Muslim countries. And couscous is definitely a staple, and we'll get to that a little bit. But what would you like to share with us, Steve?
Thanks. Welcome, everyone. Glad you could join us. Just a couple of words from me. Really pleased that we were able to share with you family favorite dishes. Over the years, as I've visited Tunisia and spent time with my family, both there and here in North America, learning how to make all of the dishes, not only that I love to eat, but that I love to make is a thrill. So we're very happy to bring part of our family to you in your.
Yes.
Rania, want to say hi?
And so the fun thing is that we're going to do things the way we actually do them at home. We all three cook together, including Chef Rania, who is not just a chef, she's also a tough judge. So we have to make sure that we're on top of our what's the expression?
On top of our game.
On top of our game today. So I think we'll go ahead, and as Tamara said, please, for those of you cooking with us and following along, please go ahead and share questions in the chat or let us know if we're going too fast. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first dish. As I said, we're making three dishes: couscous with chicken and vegetables, slata meshwiya, which is a grilled salad, and brick. And the slata meshwiya and the brick would really be considered an appetizer, right? That to go along. The couscous dish is the main dish, and it's a meal in itself, right? It has the carbs from the couscous. It has proteins. We're making chicken. You can also make it with lamb or beef or fish. And then we're using 3 or 4 different vegetables, and you can't go wrong. You can use whatever vegetable you're interested in. And so it's a staple of Tunisia. It's a dish that we would have definitely on Sundays, but often on weeknights as well. And it's just a dish that really, to me, spells out family and Sundays at the beach. And so I'm very excited to share it with you. And what I'm gonna do is share it with you the way we cook it in our home, right? With definitely shortcuts and definitely steps that we've learned to adjust to our palate. And so I know there are at least a couple of experts of Tunisian cooking in the audience. Just bear with us. So we'll go ahead and start, and maybe we can, I don't know if we want to switch to this camera so I can show, it's actually on there. So what I'm showing is the couscous box. And as we had indicated in the recipe, this is our favorite. You can use whatever couscous you'd like. This is one of our favorite, and you can easily find it at the international market on South Island for those of us that live in State College. And couscous comes in many sizes. The one I personally like is the medium. It's called medium, and that really refers to the sort of quote unquote grain size. Okay. What I want to say is in Tunisia, I think the finer the couscous, the better. That's how it's considered. But I'm sharing with you what I like. And so we're gonna start with a couscous dish, and the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and I already lost the chicken. Oh, it's in the fridge. We're gonna go ahead and put our spices, spice up our chicken, and we're gonna do that by using turmeric, coriander, and paprika. So we'll go ahead and put these spices. I've already measured up the amounts, and so I think I had suggested a teaspoon of each. Thank you, Steve. But you can go ahead and again, hopefully you'll make this multiple times. So the next time you make it, please adjust it to your liking, right? So I have the chicken here. I'm using chicken thighs, and I usually use boneless, skinless chicken thighs, especially when I'm making this on weeknights because it cooks faster. But again, there is no wrong. If you want to use bone-in chicken, you want to use chicken with skin, just keep in mind that it might take a little longer to cook, okay? So I'm adding the turmeric, the coriander, and both turmeric, coriander, and paprika are staples of Tunisian cuisine. So we would often use these. Now, if we were making this with fish, for example, then we would use cumin quite a bit. We would use cumin with fish. We would probably use a bit of cumin and hot pepper if we were making it with lamb or beef. These spices work really well with chicken. So I'm just mixing the spices in the chicken, and I'm gonna add salt and pepper. And I had measured out some salt, but I think I'll just reach for this. And again, there is no wrong way of doing it, in a sense that just put as much salt as you think you want. I'm gonna do pinches, but as we cook the couscous and the sauce, we'll taste it and add salt and pepper as we go along. It's hard to take salt out, but it's very easy to add it in. Okay, so if we can go ahead and put some olive oil in the pan and heat that up. And then what I'm gonna do is brown the chicken on both sides. And then once that happens, I will add sliced onions and the diced garlic, okay? So I think I will let Steve and Rania help with the garlic and onion while I brown the chicken.
All right, let me grab the garlic and the onion. Bring the cutting board over. Which one would you like to cut? The garlic or the onion?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna pick up the chicken and put it, what I used is olive oil. And I indicated, I think, 2 tablespoons of olive oil for this recipe. I usually don't measure. I just put enough olive oil to cover the base. And I like using a Dutch oven when I make stews in general, and then this recipe in particular. So I'm just putting the chicken. I'm probably only gonna put 4 pieces for now. and wait for them to brown, take them out, and then add the other 4 pieces. And that's so that they really brown and not steam, right? If it's too crowded, they'll tend to steam. Okay. So,
All right, working on the onion and the garlic here.
can I help or?
Would you like to help? These large pieces of onion have been cut. There's a lot of prep work with these dishes. Seems like a lot of ingredients, but actually it's not. I know that there are some recipes that have many, many more ingredients than what we have here. And I think this is one of the things that we like about cooking together as a family, is that there's so many different tasks and each one of us can take up a different task. So.
The other thing I'm noticing as I'm cutting the garlic is Rania is totally showing me off by cutting as a chef, and I'm just like sort of dicing the garlic in small pieces the best way I can.
You want to have these onions in larger chunks, or would you like them in smaller chunks?
We'll slice them. So yes, just slice them. So I'm hearing the chicken browning. I'm gonna check on one piece, and yeah, it's time for me to flip them around. Remember, we're not cooking the chicken in this step. We're merely browning it on both sides. Okay. So it takes maybe if the oil started out hot, it might take about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes to brown each side. Okay. So again, if you're following along and if we're going a little too fast, please let us know. I'm gonna give it another minute, and then I'll take these pieces out and add the other 4, I think, that I have. But we're not ready for that yet, so yeah. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put these on a clean plate. And add these. Yep, it was indeed 4 pieces. Go ahead and brown these. And if you're doing this, like I said, along in your kitchen, you're probably starting to smell some of the coriander and some of the paprika. That's the other thing it does. As you're browning the chicken, you're also sauteing the spices, and they get more, more powerful in their smell and taste. I'll tell you this, I don't throw this out because there's a lot of nice spices stuck to the bowl. Add a little bit of hot water, and then later I'm going to need to add more water to my sauce anyway, so I'll use this flavored sauce. As when I was growing up in Tunisia, I definitely wasn't cooking, right? The chicken was the chicken. I keep saying chicken and kitchen interchangeably. The kitchen with adult women, right? So I didn't really cook. I learned to cook when I came here to the US as a student because I was homesick. And cooking the food I grew up with is really what helped me, sort of stay connected to my country. And so these smells always mean almost more to me than actually eating the food. It just, smelling these familiar smells brings back memories. I turned the chicken around, gonna give it another minute. And then what we will do is add the other chicken that we had just browned, add the onions and add the garlic, and have everything sauteed together for a few minutes. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So Chef Rania, if you want to add the onions and the garlic, you can use your hands because I know you just washed them. Okay.
No hygiene. No.
we'll go ahead and kind of shake it up in here. Shake it up. I want to make sure the onions are seeing the bottom of the pot so they can saute a bit. And we kept the onions and even the garlic a bit larger in size, and again, that's a preference, right? It'll just be chunkier when we're eating it with the sauce. So I'm gonna reduce it up. I would estimate I probably have it on medium high right now. And I'm gonna go ahead and reduce it a bit. And just a quick sheet, Steve, can you tell me, do I recommend adding water at this point?
At this point, you are not adding water.
Okay. Okay, so then what I need to do is keep mixing so it doesn't stick and we don't want it to burn, right?
Add some water when the potatoes enter the picture.
So perhaps we can focus on Rania, who's peeling the potatoes right now.
Rania's on the
Oh, carrots. Somebody needs to be doing potatoes. So maybe.
Yes. So while they're working on the potatoes and the carrots, I'm going to begin working on the brique. And so brique is one of my favorite dishes in Tunisia. It's essentially an appetizer, and although you can eat it any time of the day, it's it's fried goodness, and who doesn't like fried goodness, right? So the ingredients in brique, the essentials are parsley, potatoes, egg, and tuna, and capers. So this is the main component. There is an element that allows us to add raw egg, and that's a wonderful piece to know about, because at the end, right when you're ready to fry it, you put that raw egg in. I'll show you how to do that. But these are the ingredients for the brique. And what we'll do, you see, we've already prepared some of the chopped potatoes, but I'm going to chop these a little bit smaller. I like to have the potatoes a little bit smaller. And the reason is I just don't like the big chunks of potato, but some people do. And if you do, then keep your chunks of potato a little bit larger. I'm going to put these back in here. I'll also move to the parsley. In our house, I am the parsley chopper. Parsley has some very specific technical components that I need to share with you. So here's the parsley. You can wash your parsley before you use it.
I want to know what the technical components are.
All right, so here are this is family secret time, exposing the family secrets. All right, so here are my stalks of parsley. Many people chop the stalks as well.
Do they?
They do, apparently. What you want to do is remove the parsley leaves. I usually just pull them off like this and gather them up, the stalks. You can use, if you're making a soup for flavoring, but the stalks to me are not the part with all of the flavor. And so I just tend to just pull these off, get my leaves together, and do a few more. That's one of the technical pieces. If you're in a hurry, then you can actually just kind of scrunch up all of the leaves together like this. I'll show you how to do that. Pull them all together, and then just chop all of the woody pieces off if you'd like. I'll do a little bit more. I like a lot of parsley in brique. Some people don't like that much. I do. I'll chop this off, pull this over, some leaves, get the woody bits away. All right, let's take these, we'll slide these off.
The what bits?
I call them woody bits.
Woody bits.
Yeah, they're kind of crunchy.
That makes sense.
Right? All right, just take this off. And then the next thing you want to do is gather all of these leaves. You can have some of the woody bits, but I like to have mostly leaves. I'll move this out of the way so you can see. So then you gather these up, pull them together tight, and then chop away. And you want to have And what I'm doing is I'm folding the leaves into themselves, so I'm making a very tight bunch. Chopping. Being careful not to chop my fingernails or my fingers. Then I'll pull it together and chop again. The idea is to make the parsley leaves rather fine so that you'll be able to sprinkle those together. The other important part of brique is the tuna. So this tuna comes from Tunisia. This is El Manar, and we love tuna. There's some oil. It comes in olive oil. Oh, let me hold this up here so you can see. There you are. There's the camera. It's a tuna in olive oil. The original stuff that we love. So you want to keep some of that oil as we mix it. I'm going to grab a bowl right now. I'll use this bowl. So in the bowl, I will put my.
Oh, no, you can't. I'm sorry.
I can't use
This is
this
for the couscous.
bowl.
No, you can't.
My
It's
goodness.
my special bowl.
All right, I will get a different bowl. This is also something that happens in our house when we
Yes.
plan things out. We try to figure out which bowl works. I'll put the bottom one. Thank you very much.
And we practice too.
We practiced and we left out the bowl.
Yeah.
So, potatoes. Off you go. Capers. These are nice sized capers. You can use smaller ones. You can use larger ones. I would say if you have the larger ones, I'd chop them smaller so they look like this. We'll put our capers in. We'll take the tuna and put the tuna in. I'll grab this. You can have some of the oil go in. I wouldn't put all of that oil in there, but you do want to have some oil. Let's do this. Okay, a little bit more. All right. There's that. I'm going to put my parsley in. There's some parsley. And you put your spices in. We'll sprinkle this.
So this is coriander.
Coriander. And some salt. How much salt do you want?
I just do it. I would do 2 pinches.
2 pinches. 1 and 2. All right, I'll do 2.5.
There's a question from the chat. Where do you get Almanar tuna?
Yeah, I expected that question because you did such a good job advertising Almanar. It's difficult to get, especially these days. I usually order online, but it's been discontinued. I tried to order more last week. What I suggest is just a really good quality olive oil, tuna in olive oil. You can find it at, again, the international market on South Island is my go-to. But also Wegmans, has nice brands. So just as long as it's a good packed tuna in olive oil, you'll be fine.
Okay, the other thing I want to put in at this point is the cheese. So we have the Gruyere cheese. I've grated this ahead of time, and you can't have too much cheese either.
No, never have too much
Never
cheese.
have too much cheese.
So you got the cheese and you got the fried dough. I mean, how can it not be good, right?
That's right.
Steve,
Yes.
Anita is asking, she assumes the potatoes were cooked first. How firm or how soft?
That's a great question. So let me grab a potato here. They were cooked ahead of time. And watch, I'm just going to squish this in my fingers. They crumble, but they're not smushy. So they have a little bit of texture, a little bit of density.
And that can also be a preference, really, how the potatoes, actually none of this filling is going to cook much beyond what you're seeing, because when we fry the brique, we'll fry it very quickly. So just taste it, and if it feels good to you, you're to go.
That's right. Okay, so I've made the filling for the brique. We'll come back later in the episode today, and we'll fry it. So I'll move out of the way, and we'll go back to the couscous.
Just so you know, Dr. Belhassan says my mom squeezes all of the oil from the tuna.
All right.
Okay, all right.
So there's an example of a variation
Yes.
on the same recipe.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thanks.
And I'd say there's no right or wrong. I like a little bit of olive oil in the filling, but you might not. So yeah. So what we're doing, if you remember where we left off the couscous, we were sauteing onion and garlic with the brown chicken. And so we're gonna add the potatoes that have been expertly cut and peeled by Chef Rania. So we're adding the potatoes, and then at this point, right, the potatoes need to start cooking. So I'm adding my water. And remember what I mentioned, I just added water to that bowl of spices. And yes, there was raw chicken in there, but it's gonna cook. Okay, it's all gonna cook for a good maybe 35, 40 minutes. I need to add a little more water. So at the beginning, I add enough water to cover the chicken and the potatoes, okay? So I'm gonna do that. Okay, so I'm gonna add more. And you know what? I'm gonna add just a little. Okay, so what we have now on the stove is the chicken with the spices, potatoes, onions, and garlic, and enough water to cover them. And we're going to bring it to a soft boil, then reduce it and cover it. And as my mom would say, we're gonna forget about it for a while. And what we want is for it to cook slowly, right? Again, like a stew, slowly, but fast enough that we can make it on a weeknight. So I turned it up to, again, I would say medium high, just to kind of get that boiling going. And then I'm gonna turn it back down to simmer and cover it. Okay, so where are we with the next steps?
Well, the next step is the slata mashwaya.
Oh, okay. It's not, is it, or it's not? Oh, okay, not yet. So yes, Rania brings up a good point. I do wanna let you know that in the meantime, and it's because we have 3 people in the kitchen, Rania went ahead and cut the zucchini and the carrots for us. We're not ready to add them to the stew, but they're ready if we do. And so just a quick explanation, we had 2 zucchinis and 2 or 3 carrots. We ended up with 3 carrots because they were sort of small. We cut them this way. So we cut the zucchini lengthwise, we cut the carrots lengthwise, and then we cut them in fourths. And the zucchini will probably cook faster than the carrots. So they're a little bigger than the carrots. We're gonna add them at the same time to the stew when we're ready for them. Okay?
All right, so now it is slata mashwaya time. Slata mashwaya, grilled salad.
Yes.
And ahead of time, you would have prepared your peppers and tomatoes. And that's what we have here. We've already removed the black skin that was on the outside that was blackened due to the grilling. I grilled these out on the grill earlier. You'll see the seeds. The seeds are the spicy part of the dish, of the pepper. And so if you don't want it to be too spicy, then remove the seeds. So we'll take the seeds here.
Yes. I think I would recommend taking the seeds out of the pepper out. Definitely not out of the tomatoes, right? But out of the peppers for sure.
Yeah.
And you mentioned prepping them beforehand. So for those of you cooking along, hopefully you got the information about grilling or roasting the tomatoes and the peppers for today, so you can follow along. So yeah, we grill them thanks to you. But sometimes if, you know, it's the college and it's snowing or raining really hard and we don't feel like being outside, really we would just use the stove and broil them in the oven.
That's right.
And what you want to do with the peppers, so we use 2 green bell peppers.
Yes.
But we also used 2 hot peppers because we like food on the spicy side, right?
It's one of the hot peppers.
And you don't have to use that. You just can use a 3rd green bell pepper if you want. Yeah, we ended up with 2 hot ones that we might cut separately. So everybody in Tamara's beautiful house can with us, because not everybody likes spicy. So we might actually cut them separately and just add them a little later.
So we were talking earlier about different variations on the same recipes, and the couscous that you're preparing is chicken.
Yes.
But there are other kinds of protein that can be used in couscous. Could you talk a little bit about those different variations on the theme?
Yeah, and in fact, you can use different proteins, or you can not use if you're vegetarian. You know, you can make a vegetarian couscous. That's really quite delicious. We were vegetarian for 15 years, and then we stopped. So different vegetables. Couscous really lends itself to be vegan or vegetarian because you can add chickpeas, you can add fava beans to the sauce, and you'll see we're going to add chickpeas later. So you can make it that way, and again with the selection of vegetables that you like. But yeah, in Tunisia we do tend to like meat, and so on special occasions we would make couscous with lamb, for example. In the summer we like couscous with vegetables or with fish, and usually we either use whole fish if it's it's a smaller kind of fish, or fish, more like fish steaks. And one fish in particular that we use in Tunis, where I'm from, the capital, is called meneni, and it's similar to mahi mahi, I think.
It's close to mahi mahi.
From Hawaii. So it's kind of similar in texture and size. And in that case, we would use steaks of it.
That's right.
And if you're a very, I was going to say strict cook in terms of following traditional recipes, then, as I mentioned in the beginning, for fish couscous, the spices will be different, more subtle, but definitely a lot more cumin is used when it comes to that. And then today for the couscous, I used coriander because I wanted it to be a recipe that all of you can make with us. But in Tunisia, we would really use something called tabel, Tabel. That's the spice that we use. And tabel is like a curry, right? Because it's a mixture of multiple spices. It has caraway in it. It has coriander primarily, but caraway, other things that I'm forgetting because I don't know how to say them in English. Definitely, dried garlic and onion as well. And tabel is the sort of spice that different households would have their own recipes. And that's how you would make a couscous. And even if you share a recipe with somebody else, they can never make it the way you did, because you got that special mixture of tabel that you use it with. And I usually go, when we go to Tunisia, I usually bring tabel with me. But because of the pandemic, unfortunately, we haven't been since January 2020. So I ran out of all my good tabel. But the coriander is definitely, combining coriander with turmeric and paprika gets us very close to the flavor.
Great. So with the salat mashwaya, I've removed most of the seeds. I'd like a little bit of spiciness of the seeds. You can take more time to remove all of the seeds if you prefer. I also have the roasted tomatoes here, and what I'll do is, what we have seen earlier was quite a bit of liquid from the tomatoes. I poured most of that out, and now I'm going to add the meaty part of the tomatoes into the salat mashwaya, into the bowl. I want to take off the stem. What I'm trying to do is remove this stem piece here where the stem of the tomato was attached. There we go. There's one. These are really wonderful, large tomatoes. Any tomatoes would work. We prefer the larger ones because they're easier to grill. Maybe I prefer them because they're easier for me to grill. But any tomatoes would work. We have a great supplier of tomatoes. One of our neighbors is an amazing gardener, and he has delicious tomatoes. But any tomato would work.
So yes, we're fortunate to have John on our street because we got awesome tomatoes from him, but we also got the hot peppers from him. So that's another treat. So
thank you, John, for your help today. And you notice I'm using my hands. Some people would prefer to cut these off. Yeah, if you would cut that would be great. I prefer to use my hands. I wash my hands before I do these things. But for me, it's a way to connect with the food. Speaking about connecting with the food, food is a way for us to connect as a family. It's a way for people to connect as friends, to get to know each other better. One of my favorite parts about cooking salat mashwaya is the connection I had with my mother-in-law. And cooking with her was a joy and a treat for me because I got to learn some of the elements of making her dishes. She never gave us all of the secrets, but she gave most of them. But I'll show you a technique here that she shared with me, and I love this technique.
That's true, that probably she never gave us all of the secrets, and I understand that as somebody who shares recipes, and I might leave out one or two things so that you can keep coming back to my my version of the dish. But one thing I must say that I'm convinced she's told Steve more of her secrets than she's ever told me. So that's why certain Tunisian things, even though I'm the Tunisian in the house, he's gonna make, because I want them to taste good.
There you go. We have the chopped garlic, the garlic we would have prepared also. I've chopped that, placed it in here with the peppers and the tomatoes. The next thing that I'm going to do is I want to add a little bit of, where are my next ingredients? Right.
Would you like olive
Here they
oil?
are. No, I need
No,
these.
this
We need some spices to go in.
spices, yes.
All right,
yes.
do you want to talk about the spices that go in?
Yes. So similarly, right, I mentioned common spices in our food is coriander. So we're adding the coriander, we're adding the paprika. I've put caraway in this before, you know, a little bit of caraway. So the nice thing is, again, hopefully you'll like this and you'll make it again. When you make it again, just go ahead and experiment. I mean, to me, cooking, you need certain rules, right? Because you want things to cook and you want to be able to eat them. But the fun thing about cooking too is just taking liberties with, you know, adding one or more spices that maybe the recipe doesn't call for. One thing that I say, I mean, in my day job, as a researcher in particular, I have to follow particular procedures, right? We have standard operating procedures to get experiments done and to do statistics and to be able to disseminate our findings. When I cook, I don't want rules and I don't necessarily want measurements. For the first time, we've had to write some of these recipes down to share with Tamara, to share with you. And that was hard because, you know, we add a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and that's how we make it.
That's right. That's right. So I want to show you this technique, the slata moushouya. In the recipe that we shared with you, we said you could either use a food processor. That's a great way to use to go. There's another way that my mother-in-law taught me, and that is to use two knives and use them almost as scissors. And so what I'm doing is I'm putting the knives across each other. The effort here is to slice the peppers and the tomatoes so that they mix together. You get a nice consistency. This is a metal bowl. You could do this in a glass bowl if you'd like. I don't recommend doing it in a plastic bowl because the knives will slice the surface, the interior surface of the bowl. I'm using the knives now to mix this up. I'm finding there's some larger pieces that I still need to chop. I don't know if you can hear that. Probably hear the bell sound of the bowl, but you can hear the knives. Kind of sounds like scissors. So I would imagine Edward Scissorhands would be a really great slata moushouya chef. I had to put a reference in to some obscure cultural.
Some of us are rolling our eyes.
Yeah.
Very good reviews.
Oh, good. A lot of practice.
That's what I mentioned, but stuff in there.
I'm just going to interrupt real quick
Please
to
jump
say thank you to our producer who pointed out that the stew was starting to boil. So I reduced it to, I don't know, I would say low to simmer, and I covered it. And now I'll just check it every so often. If the potatoes start to feel a little less firm, then I'll add the zucchini and carrots.
Great. All right. So
It looks great.
well, thank you so much. All right. So slata moushouya, I'm going to move this out of the way. Rani, did you want to plate this now or you want to wait? You're going to plate the slata moushouya now.
No, it's for the.
All right. So I'm going to move these items out of the way, and Chef Rania will plate the slata moushouya.
Which is a great idea, but maybe right before we plate it, we can taste it for salt.
That's a great one. All right. So go ahead. Not yet.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's slow down a bit.
We're a little anxious. All right. So the oil, I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Let me mix it just a little bit more. Great. Thanks, Rania. You want to mix that for us? Thank you. And you might not have caught that earlier. I squeezed just a bit of lemon juice. All right, Chef Rania, you want to taste that? What do you think? A bit more salt. There it is.
Okay.
All right, chef, so here's salt. A little bit more salt here. Okay, should do it. Okay,
Double check.
come on, chef.
Oh.
All right, taste it up. What do you think? That's perfect. Of course it
Yay.
is. You had a hand in it. All right, why don't you go ahead and plate that for us, chef?
So first I'm gonna scoop some of it and put it in the bowl. And spread it out. Should I do all of it?
Sure, well, it's up to you. You're the plater.
And spread it out evenly. Then grab an egg.
Hard boiled or soft boiled?
Yeah.
right?
Cut it in half. And then into fourths.
You prefer hard boiled or soft boiled, right?
Soft boiled.
This is a little too hard boiled for you, huh?
Yeah. And then you can take the eggs and make some random designs. So this time I do it like this, I guess. And then you can take olives.
What are your olives?
I don't know what are they?
They're black olives.
Black
Oh, yeah,
olives.
black
The
olives.
black olives, and they have the pits in them.
Yeah.
You can use any olive you'd like. We prefer the black olives with the pits.
And then you can take some tuna and sprinkle it on top.
Ooh, that's really nice.
Well done.
That's very
Ooh,
nice.
look at that. Well done. Well done. Oh, yes, it is.
All right. One dish done. Wow.
There we go.
How y'all are doing though? Do we need to slow down? Any questions? If you're following along, anything we can help you with?
So everyone says yum, very nice.
It looks really nice. It will make a comeback at the end when we show you all the food, right? Yes.
Okay, so I'm wondering if it's not time to start the brique. Is it too early for that?
Yes.
It's too early for that. All right, where would you like to go next?
Well, the fun thing about the brique is eating them while they're warm, right? And they really don't take that long, especially we're using a deep fryer, so they should cook in a couple of minutes. So we're back to the couscous, right? The main star of the three dish menu. I will check. I use the smell a lot, right, to know where things are in terms of readiness. So I'm not smelling the potatoes yet. I'm gonna let it simmer a little longer, and then add the zucchini and the carrots. The zucchini and carrots may take, maybe 15 minutes to get to the kind of doneness that we like. And I'm just gonna maybe put the tray
Which one?
oh, we don't have it. Oh, it's right here. It's right here. I'm sorry. So the tray right here for the couscous, yes. And Steve, you're exactly right. We're going to get the couscous started. And so this is most definitely a shortcut, okay? So let me ask Rania to bring the couscousière to show you how we typically cook the couscous at home. So this is a so-called couscousière. What it is you have this pot in the bottom, right? And then this here on top. And this is, sort of like a colander, right? So while the sauce, what we're making right now in the Dutch oven, why that's usually cooking in this bottom pot, the couscous is steamed on top. And it's really, we steam it 2 or 3 times. And so the nice thing about that is that the couscous grains will take on the flavor of the sauce before you even add the sauce on top of them, right? Because it's steaming with the steam from the sauce in the bottom. That's how we would cook it if we were cooking it at home, and if it's not again, I keep saying weeknight, right? Because to me, weeknight, I'm making food and getting ready in 40 to 45 minutes tops. The other thing that we have here, and the reason I'm calling it a shortcut, is that in the US, we can easily get this kind of couscous, which is instant couscous. So this has already been pre-steamed, already hydrated. And that's why the directions usually on this or any other kind of couscous you buy at Wegmans or Giant would tell you to boil water, similar quantity. So with couscous, you do 1-to-1, 1 water to 1 couscous. Boil the water, then add it to the couscous, mix it, cover the couscous off the stove, cover it, wait, maybe 5 to 10 minutes and it's cooked. And that's fine. That can get you cooked couscous, but it's just not the texture that I'm used to. And so I figured out by YouTube videos and talking to people and using my mom's tough judging as a criterion that what I'm going to show you works really well. And the steaming is fine, but like I said, usually, you steam, you take it off, you add water to it, you put it back. It's great, but it takes a long time. So what I'm suggesting for this amount of sauce and vegetables we're making, that we use 2 cups of couscous. And a couple of times I said couscous grain. In fact, couscous is a pasta. It's not a grain like other whole grains. It's a pasta. It's made from semolina wheat. And so it's sort of it's a combination of African and maybe Mediterranean, Italian, right? When it comes to the pasta stuff. I'm making a mess, but I'm putting 2 generous cups of couscous in this bowl, okay? I'm going to turn around, wash my hands, because I'm gonna be using my hands for this stuff.
While you're doing that, let me tell you that you have lots of comments. Steve's mom wishes she could be there for the tasting.
Okay.
Loved Ryan's plating. You have made everyone hungry. Everyone is saying they're hungry. Dan Letwin says, wonderful workshop, and I look forward to replicating this from the recording.
Okay.
Looks tasty. Thanks for sharing. They're going to try the recipe. Lots of accolades, and a really nice story from someone who is Tunisian.
Okay.
Says she's from the south of Tunisia.
Yes.
Her husband's from the northeast. They cook different types for different occasions.
Yes.
He wanted her to make the kind that's from his town. So she asked her mother-in-law for the recipe.
Yeah.
His mother left out the main spice of the recipe on purpose.
That's a Tunisian thing.
So her son had to call her to adjust the recipe. And then he called and said it turned out great. So she was embarrassed.
Oh, I feel you. I feel you. Okay, very good. So we have our couscous grains in the bowl. And I'm going to add, so what I did, this is olive oil. What I did is I poured a little bit of olive oil in the cap, and that's to kind of, control it and not add too much olive oil. Because in essence, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put olive oil on the dry, uncooked instant couscous, and then mix it in to cover the grains, right? So I'm just gonna put a little bit, that's plenty. I'm mixing it with my hands. And this technique of mixing and turning is actually how they make the couscous. So starting from semolina flour, they would add a little bit of water and do this until the particles of flour get bigger and bigger. And then they would dry them for days. I mean, I remember growing up, right, seeing sheets with couscous on it drying in the sun. And I can tell sort of by color, but also texture when it starts getting fluffy. That it's, can they see it? Oh, sure, yeah, thank you. That, it's getting fluffier. And so to me, it tells me that it's coated with the oil. And I usually add a little bit of salt here too. So you flavor at different steps, right? That's what I was looking for. You flavor at different steps. I'm just gonna do a pinch on the grain. And it feels and looks right to me. So what we're doing is hopefully we're boiling 2 cups of water.
Yes.
Okay, it's
Ready?
boiled.
It has boiled.
Oh, okay, then hold on.
No, we're not ready.
I'm not ready. I'm just gonna grab a fork.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab a fork. You're reheating it just a little bit?
Just a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna grab a fork, and the other thing I'm gonna grab is aluminum foil. Because after we add the oil and we mix the water and we mix it, we're gonna cover it with aluminum foil and forget about it, as my mom would say in Arabic, inseh, for a few minutes, and then we will uncover it and use a fork to kind of separate. Oh, thank you. So just measuring here, just about here, because we want to cover it real tight. Okay, so I got my aluminum foil, I got my fork, and I hear the water boiling.
Yeah,
So
boiling again.
I'll make a little bit of, sort of a well. 2 cups of water, boiling water. Fix it in, and it will start absorbing very fast. Just before you cover it, make sure that all of the couscous is wet from the water that you just added. All right, and it might not look like enough, but that's okay, because remember we have tasty sauce cooking. So we just want it to get a little softer, but then we're really gonna add the sauce to it, and we want their room in the couscous grains to absorb the sauce, right? So we don't want to saturate it. So we're gonna forget about it and get back to the couscous, right?
Yes.
Unless we have questions. And by that I mean to the stew.
Right. So.
Yep, I think we're ready, and I smell it. Hopefully your kitchen smells good as well. So we're gonna add the zucchini and the carrots.
Miriam says she smells it.
Oh. So if it's the Miriam I'm thinking, she is an awesome cook.
She has your recipe.
She is my sister, and she is an awesome cook. Almost as good as Steve.
Oh, those are fighting words.
No comment. No, my sister-in-law is an amazing cook.
So I'm gonna go ahead after Rania adds the carrots. I'm gonna go ahead and check on the chicken. So the other thing you can do, right, is keep on checking on the chicken, the potatoes, the vegetables, and take those that you decide are cooked enough, right? Because we don't want to overcook stuff. So I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna grab a fork. Just kidding. What I'm gonna grab is my can of chickpeas. So this is a can of chickpeas that we've removed most of the water, right?
Yes.
And we're going to add it along with the zucchini and the carrots.
So chickpeas are also garbanzo beans. I know these also, like capers, come in different sizes. Do you have a preference on the size?
Garbanzo beans come in different sizes.
Yep, I've seen many smaller ones. Apparently, we prefer the big ones.
I'm not prepared for this question because I did not know. Now, one thing that I forgot to add, which I'm going to do now, and it's fine, is the tomato paste and the harissa. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to uncover the stew and add it. What did you say?
Did you want me to take the picture?
Yes, I got it. Thank you. So I'm going to add, and I typically don't add a lot of tomato paste. So I think I had recommended, again, for this amount, 1 to 2 tablespoons. If we were using more tomato paste, we would probably need to saute it and cook it for longer because it's acidic. But I like this dish to be on the lighter side, and I use just enough to give it a nice color. And I did add harissa, and I want to tell you a little bit about harissa right after I cover this. How are we doing with time, Tamara?
Oh, you're great.
Okay.
It is not even 3 o'clock yet.
Okay. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about harissa. Now, if there is anything quintessential Tunisian, in addition to couscous, it would be harissa. It's a condiment, right? And it's made from chili peppers. And so I mentioned, when I'm growing up, remembering sheets with couscous drying in the sun. The other thing that I remember, and Steve and Rania both experienced it as well, is in the summer, you see these white sheets with red chili peppers drying in front of every door. In particular, in this region where we like to go to the beach. And it's an area called Cabon of Tunisia. And so they dry the chili peppers, then they turn them into a paste and add different spices. Again, the tabl, right? So combination of caraway, cumin, coriander. And I do find that particular harissa from the Cabon, except it's I guess bottled. This is in a tube in France, but this tastes very similar to the harissa we buy from the stores, at least. Okay, and so I do find this at the international store. But harissa, just like tabl, just like couscous, different families have their own recipes and their own preferences. This is much closer to the homemade harissa that I grew up with, and it's from Moula Mahjoub. It's actually they make oil and they make different spices, and I can order this online. I even can order it through Amazon. So this is actually my favorite. And if you look at the ingredients, it has not just the chili peppers, it also has sun-dried tomatoes, and then it has garlic, coriander, caraway seeds. So it doesn't tell you what quantities, right? But it tells you the ingredients. And it does have, it's spicy. So chili pepper, it's spicy hot, but it's not actually as spicy hot as this. It's more flavorful and with a little bit of heat. So this is what I used. I added a teaspoon of it in the stew. And as you make this, you can decide you want more, you want less. You can add this after stuff is cooked too, because it's cooked. You can eat it on toast with tomatoes. Yeah, you can just, we can add it to the salata mashwiya. We can even add it to the briq after we fry it and eat it. So just wanted to share that.
Should we move to the briq? I'm
Yes.
eager to make the briq.
He really wants to make the briq, and then he's going to be like, oh, it's going to get too cold. I better eat it.
That's a little trick I've picked up over the years.
All right. So let's maybe remove this, and you have the tray for the briq?
Oh, shit. Here. All right, so we now turn with the filling for the briq. Yes, that's the tray. Thank you so much. So we have the filling for the briq, and you recognize this tray with the tuna and the parsley. Key here are these eggs. These are our raw eggs, farm fresh raw eggs. We will get to those in short order. The other thing I need is this surface to work on here. So briq is this deep fried golden goodness, and you need to have some sort of dough in which the filling is placed. And so one approach you can use are spring roll sheets. We like to use these. These are quick and easy. They're easy to find in many stores. Doesn't have to be this this brand, but they're fairly easy to find. There's another kind of sheets that we like to use, and these Zubaydah orders these. I don't know where you get these. Do they come from France directly?
I order them online. Again, I was able to get them from Amazon for a while, but these two have been discontinued, and for sure this is because of the pandemic.
Absolutely.
So, but as Steve said, the egg roll wrap, not any egg roll wrapper, honestly, this particular one is really a good substitute.
Okay, so corrected there.
Speaking of brands, someone was asking what is the brand of the harissa?
So, okay.
Oh, so the brand of the harissa is Moula Mahjoub. See? Oh, I don't know if you can see it here.
It's not one to focus on.
Okay, so we can maybe put it in the chat.
Yeah.
And then the harissa
This is from International Market here if you're in State College. DEA.
DEA. Yeah, so we could put those in the
Yeah.
chat. Thank you. So I'm going to use the spring roll sheets first, and then I'll use the other sheets. And the other sheets are actually the ones that we use in Tunisia. All right. So there's my spoon. I think we had the taste test spoon before. All right, so I'm going to take about a tablespoon and a half, maybe, of the filling, maybe 2 tablespoons. I like out there. All right. Then what I'll do with the spoon is I'm going to make it just a slight impression there, almost like a well. I'll take this egg. Too much of a mess. Right there in the center. It's a very thick shell that you heard cracking there. The yolk sometimes spills out, and I like to slide that to the sides. Almost works as a glue. And then I'm going to fold this over like that. Ensure the yolk doesn't spill out. This is where it gets tricky, and I'm going to probably have a disaster on my hands. But you
you need
can
help?
somehow pick this up and move it over to the,
It looks to me like you're doing great.
well, thank you. So far, so good. I'm going to move it over to the deep fryer. If you could open the lid for the deep fryer, well, I need to move it directly in.
Okay.
I'm going to put this straight away in the deep fryer. Okay. So it's in the deep fryer. The wrapper was a little soggy, and so it's I'll make the next one without the egg so you can see the difference. But we just want this to
Oh, which wrapper?
yes. And what I'm doing is I'm using my spoon to make sure it gets coated with the hot oil. The shape has been distorted a little bit. Ideally, these will be triangles. And what we're looking for is we want this to end up GB and D, golden brown, delicious.
Sarah says, "Could I soft boil the eggs first to save the disaster?"
You could do that, Sarah. That's a really good idea.
Let me actually address Sarah's question even more. So you can, the way Steve has done it is, one way to have the filling is to actually have a full egg, a full whole egg, uncooked, that's going to fry with the dough. But another way to do it, you saw the filling, you can crack a couple of eggs in a small bowl, mix them, and then add them to the filling. That's another way. A third way is to soft boil the eggs, as Sarah suggested, then cut them and add them to the filling. So you can really do any of these combinations, and you will find any of these combinations in restaurants and in different homes in Tunisia. It will still taste pretty good, Steve. But maybe we'll go ahead and use the matsuka for
Okay.
the next one.
That sounds good. I'll do that. I just need to
And-
get a.
Another plate.
All right, so we'll pull this out. As you pull this out, what I like to do is use tongs and then hold it this way to just let some of the oil drip. And then I'll put it on a plate with a paper towel to let it dry.
It's a very interesting shape.
It is the most interesting shaped brick I've ever prepared or seen. So I'll move this over here for now. All right, let's use this sheet. Okay. I'll move it here. Mhm. Okay, so this is the marsuka. This is the wrapper that we like to use. And so you fold the four, I call them four sides, but circles don't have sides, but they do if you fold them over.
Steve, your mom should feel eat it anyway.
I'm sure you will, Mom.
Oh yeah, it'll taste good.
It will still be delicious. All right, so we'll put filling inside. Okay. The egg again.
Mhm.
All right, here we go.
Don't be nervous.
No, just go for it. This one doesn't have that thick shell like that other one did. All right. And then you'll fold one corner up. Okay, you got it?
Mhm.
You're gonna walk it over, or should I?
I'm not walking it over.
Okay, thanks a
can-
lot.
If
Got
I
it?
walk it over, I would
So
use
it
the
doesn't
blade.
seal, right? It's not sealed?
It doesn't really.
It doesn't really seal, and it doesn't necessarily have to seal.
Okay.
What ends up happening is it kind of seals itself.
It's the size too.
Yeah.
Of this, right?
So should I take these out?
Yeah. Careful because it's very hot.
And
So this is why using the actual thing that we use is good, because you see, I mean, it is holding its shape. Oh,
well,
and then I dropped it.
it'll be fine. I'll make another.
It was holding its shape until I dropped it. I can think of at least 3 people right now in the audience laughing their head off. They all have Inez as the last name.
Third time's the charm.
In the meantime, I checked on the potatoes and I took them out because they were cooked perfectly the way we like them. The zucchinis and the carrots are still a little firm. So I'm letting them cook in the stew.
Getting some tips in the chat.
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
How to improve.
Make a hollow circle with the filling, crack the egg inside, sprinkle some salt and pepper. It won't drip at all. There will be no mess.
All right.
That mouth-watering, yummy.
Well, that's what this food does.
I'm very proud.
Hide that one.
Okay, I'll hide this.
Oh,
one.
no, no, good.
It's ready to come out,
Careful with this thing you open.
Oh my God. That's good, actually. So that reminds me of, and maybe a couple of you would know what I mean. This is saf Greek. The saf Greek are kind of like half circle and not really a folded triangle. We'll just pretend that's what I was doing.
Oh, is that a yolk? Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna put another one in. I didn't put the egg in this one, but if I had, I would have used the salt technique that we heard before. This one's shaping up more like we're used to.
Or hold it, fry them at home, or do you?
Yes, we do. We have a deep pan that we deep fry them in. Wondering if we didn't have this up a little too high, but that's part of what happens. Also have to be careful about the oil spattering. Just be careful. That's why I like to use these tongs. Just keep a bit of a distance. There we are. But no matter what shape or form the brique ends up in, it's all delicious.
We'll just go with that.
That's, well, that's always been my
Oh,
experience.
there's somebody agreeing there in the back, actually eating the disaster one. Is it good? Yeah.
No, apparently the disaster one's delicious. I told you. All right, this one's looking pretty good. I'm gonna pull this one out as well. Yeah. Drip a little bit. I'm gonna pull it out. So we have a paper towel on the plate just to absorb some of that extra. See that shape? There you go. Great. redeemed.
Good job.
All right. So you're fluffing the couscous. Do you want
I
to talk
am.
about that?
Yes. So I opened I removed the aluminum foil. The couscous looks great. I'm mixing it both with a fork and then with my hands if I see small clumps.
Someone asked, what oil do you normally use to deep fry?
For deep frying, either vegetable or canola.
I think this was vegetable, right?
I can't remember. Was it the big ones?
It's out in the.
Do you want to deep fry? Do you want to fry one in a pan? Because
Well,
that's how we usually do it.
It is. I think we're okay now.
We're okay? Okay.
Yeah, I'll try a couple more here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
He says this was canola oil.
Canola oil, okay. Yeah, either canola or vegetable, right, can go to high temperatures. Don't use olive oil.
No.
Olive oil, the frying temperature is too high for olive oil.
So the couscous you're making, Zbeda, is Tunisian couscous. I know a lot of people are familiar with Moroccan couscous, and that is a different color. Can you talk about that?
You had to bring it up.
I had to bring it up.
Well, typically, I showed you the Tunisian couscous. Typically, we use tomato paste. And in some cases, we probably use a lot more tomato paste than what I use. So we make, a tomato-based stew. And that's one main difference with Moroccan couscous. Also, I think maybe the use of a harissa and the kind of spices. In Moroccan couscous, which is delicious, there's probably more, nuts, raisins, cinnamon. Moroccan food tends to have sweet and savory spices at the same time. That could also be a difference, right?
Okay.
And I was told, so we had Moroccan couscous not long ago. We were at a friend's house, and the sister, who's from Morocco, told me that one thing that she realized is that Tunisians make couscous with fish and Moroccans don't. So there's the difference in proteins too, I guess. Our
Looks
couscous
pretty good.
is ready.
I'm smelling that couscous. Oh, it smells so good. Are there any other questions in the chat?
No, your family's dividing everything up. One for Miriam, one for Dorothy, and one for Dad, and
Dividing what?
the food, the three.
Oh, okay. Well,
They don't know that Ryan is.
yeah,
eating them all.
you're too late. Ranya's eating all of them, so she's just sitting over there. She forgot she's supposed to help, and she's just eating. So we'll let Steve get one more break out,
A little more couscous.
and then we'll get back to the couscous, and pretty soon the plating, right?
Sounds
Are we
great.
doing okay with time?
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So again, if you are making the couscous stew with us, check on the vegetables, check on the chicken, and take stuff out as you think it's ready, right? You can do that. What I usually do again with the stew is after I take the vegetables and the chicken out, put it on a separate plate, I do reduce the sauce and check for spices at that point. Maybe add a little more harissa or a little more salt, and just make sure that the sauce is where I'd like it. The sauce is then going to go and flavor the couscous. The couscous is pretty much cooked, but again, we did the 1-to-1 so that it will be able to absorb some of the sauce.
Someone is asking for the address. I don't think we're getting it. This is all for us.
It does smell good. in here.
It does smell really good.
Yay, good job.
Beautiful, Steve.
Very nice.
All right.
Okay.
So should I make one more?
If you're feeling adventurous,
I love making brief, but you don't have to make another one.
What are you gonna do with all that filling though?
Well, we just keep making brief until
and
it
how
runs
many
out.
people we have in this house, right?
Yeah.
I mean, But Anya's gonna eat all of them, so let's make more. That way
Absolutely. That will keep
we can
making-
share. I did want to mention because I mean, for me, you know, the fact we're in the pandemic and that never leaves my mind, right? It's around us. It's here. I do want to say, first of all, we're neighbors, Tamara and us, and we definitely talked about this. We're all vaccinated and talked about how we mask up going everywhere. We've done that. We never stopped doing that, and so we're very comfortable not wearing masks today.
Okay. Making one more here.
And we even have one world traveler who's only been a week, so he was wearing his mask just to be ultra safe.
Yes, he was.
That's right. Okay.
And this filling could be, and there were a couple of comments from other Tunisians in the audience, right? You can use, so this is obviously potato and cheese and parsley based. You can use multiple different fillings. There's a filling that's ground beef and herbs, and you just mix in, you know, raw egg. You can just get creative with fillings, provided you have the right. Do you want me to?
Someone said there are 42 participants, so keep cooking.
Oh, keep going. Okay.
And someone else said if your neighbor, she knows where to go.
Oh, I see.
Track us down and come.
Not that close. a
That
neighbor.
might be my neighbor that
It's a
said that. You know, we really need the technology where we are, you know, we can actually beam food to different places, right? That would be
Like
great.
Star Trek.
Yeah, like in Star Trek. Earl Grey, hot. Okay, so after the sabrik, we'll get back to the couscous. Do you want to tell us how you found the brie?
It was perfectly cooked.
What else? What about the taste?
It tasted good, the yolk like spilled everywhere.
Okay. And so that's, you know, when we make it with a whole egg, that too is a personal preference. I like mine with the egg still, you know, kind of runny. Some people would prefer the egg to be fully cooked after the frying. So I think you're that kind, right? You want the egg to be fully cooked. I like it runny. Oh, you like it runny. Okay. Okay, good. Good. All right.
But they said we need food 3D printers.
Yeah, there you go. And we can program it from here and you pick it up where you are. What is it?
Oh, no. Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead.
I was going to get back to the couscous. Is that okay?
Perfect. That's what I was going to ask.
Okay, I lost my fork. So, oh, there it is. So this is just to kind of interrogate the zucchini. See how it's doing great. Carrots are good. They're firm, tender and firm. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reduce the heat again, and then take the vegetables and the chicken out.
Onion, maybe get a bowl. You need a bowl for that? You made it. Or you keep
No,
it?
I was gonna put it here.
Okay.
I don't know if. So you see, I had already taken the potatoes out. So. Taking the zucchini out because I know it's the right firmness and the right bright green color that Rania and I like, right? I'm sort of leaving the chicken in there for now, just because I checked on the vegetables, but not the chicken. So I want to check on the chicken first. So this plate is getting a little heavy. Yeah, can you? You're holding it well? Mm-hmm. The bottom will get hot, so careful. Some of the chickpeas are coming out too, and that's fine, right? Because the chickpeas were canned and they're cooked. What they're doing in the sauce is taking on the flavor of the sauce and getting a little softer, which I like the chickpeas to be a bit on the softer side. At home, of course, we would use dried chickpeas, soak them overnight, then cook them the next day. What is it, babe? Your hand hurts, yes. Okay, we're good. We got almost all, oh, no, don't let go. Oh,
Here you go. I got it.
don't let go, sweet pea, that would have been. Okay, I got. That's fine.
Got it.
Yep, thank you.
Fantastic. All right, move that over here. So one final word on the brick. The heat of the oil matters. So I think we had it up a bit too high for the first one. So about 300 degrees seems like the right temperature, and it will depend on your own cooking setup. But for today, 300 was the right temperature.
That's great, because Wendy just asked what temperature. She said her first one, the egg was too raw, and the second one it burned. So she's working on the third.
Okay, so this is your Goldilocks
Yeah.
brick this time, Wendy. You'll get it just right this time.
And Dorothy says it's very difficult watching and almost smelling all the great food and not tasting it, but she loves seeing the Koreans do this.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And I'm really pleased that people are able to cook along. Some folks I know are following along. Others are watching in anticipation of being able to taste at some point. So that's great. I'm going to hold this plate up so that you can see the vegetables that have come out of the stew. And Zubaida mentioned earlier about the doneness of the carrots and the zucchini. These aren't overcooked. The colors are bright. So and she said that they're firm, but they're also kind of tender. And that seems like a contradiction, but that's not the case.
So they're not mushy.
So they're not mushy, right? Just before mushy, or many steps before mushy. But this is what they look like.
Okay. So I'm also now taking the chicken out. I did taste the sauce, and I added a bit more salt. Okay, so there's a couple of potato pieces that we're hiding. So I'll just take everything and sort of leave the sauce with some chickpeas, and that's what I'll use to add to the couscous, the bowl of couscous. So I'm looking at the sauce, and it looks fine in terms of the thickness of it and the color. We do need it to be liquidy to cover the couscous. I like the color, so I think I'm just gonna go ahead and use a ladle. Turn the heat off. Bring the bowl of couscous. It's gonna get really hot, so maybe I'll put it here. Here, just a little bit of a well in the center. Less is better in this case. I'm not gonna do a lot. I'm gonna add a couple of ladle full. Mix it. I remember, I think I mentioned at the beginning, I remember colors and smells. So if it looks the right color to me and it looks like all the couscous is covered, I'll stop. I don't necessarily want it to be very wet, but also, the longer it sits, the less wet and the drier it will get. So remember that. And we can always put a bowl with a sauce on the table, and people may add it to their plate if their preference is for a little more sauce. I do see some couscous though at the bottom that's not, necessarily covered, so. So I've added about a ladle full.
So you mentioned earlier using the couscousière. If you cooked the couscous this way,
Yeah,
how would this step be different?
actually this step would be similar, right? So yeah, we would put the couscous from the couscousière in a big bowl and then just start adding sauce to it. Okay. I think it looks fine. We're gonna put it here and we're gonna plate it, yes. And then, like I said, there's still sauce and a lot of chickpeas here, so we'll use that to put on top of the couscous. And also you can put it in a bowl. So what I'll do is go ahead and add the couscous to this bowl. Oh, the bowl, yeah, this is a beautiful bowl from Tunisia. And so, yeah, we have a lot of, I mentioned the area where we make the harissa. The harissa is made in Tunisia, in Gabon. And so in a particular town there called Nebel, that town is really famous for its ceramics. I guess ceramics are famous throughout Tunisia, and it's definitely an art and a craft that is commonly found in Tunisia. But in particular, ceramics from Nebel are some of our favorites. And so this is actually from Tunisia. So either my sisters, when they come visit, bring me ceramics, or Steve and I do, and wrap them in clothes in our luggage so that they don't break. So far, we've had luck, right? Bringing it. But a big bowl like this would be, traditional and where we would serve couscous in. And then the smaller bowl that Rania used to plate the slata meshwiya, for example, similarly is also from Tunisia. And I think it's from the same series, is it, of ceramics? Maybe?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and put the couscous. So, eating is about taste, but it's also about the rest of the senses. So things have to look good, they have to taste good, smell good. Yeah, taste good, of course. Thank you for the correction. They have to smell good, they have to look good. And we're a pretty good team, my two sweeties and I, because we have different strengths. Steve kept talking about techniques. He's good at techniques. I think I do pretty well with spice mixes. Rania is really good at plating, and tells us when things are not plated to her satisfaction. So this is more about looks, what I'm doing now. Okay, so I'm adding the couscous. I still want you to see the beautiful colors of the bowl, so I'm not going to cover it, which means I'm going to have some couscous left in this bowl. And then what we will do is actually the sauce. So if you bring that, we will use this spoon to take some of the chickpeas with the nice onions and the garlic and put that in the center.
That looks great.
Want a little more. Okay.
Looks good.
All right. Thank you. Probably go ahead and put the chicken next.
All right.
Put it all around. What do you think? Yeah.
And then one in the middle.
And then one in the middle. Okay. So I'm putting the chicken pieces. There's a good one for the middle.
That looks great. So the quantity that you prepared for this bowl would serve how many people, do you think?
Oh, 1.5. No.
If it's Rania.
That's, yeah.
Okay, I think this is good.
Good.
What would you like to do? Okay, I washed my hands, so I'm gonna do the rest. Are you okay with this, Rania?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm putting the zucchinis next. Oh, thank you for correcting. No?
That's great.
And now the potatoes. And I usually tend to use more potatoes than I think is necessary. And that's because I have a fan of potatoes in the family. So she always asks, no more potatoes?
And the way you
Okay.
arrange the vegetables and the chicken doesn't matter, just to make it look.
No, it
Right.
doesn't matter. Yeah. It's just for us to see that it looks good and hopefully it will taste good, right?
Great.
And it's colors too. I mean, you see bright colors. So hopefully that means you haven't overcooked the vegetables, right? And yeah, bright colors remind me of Tunisia. Just bright colors everywhere. So we're gonna do this, and you can in the table. So in addition to the main bowl, right, of the meal, you'll have a bowl with vegetables, a bowl with couscous grains, a bowl with additional sauce, and that allows you to customize it on your plate the way you like it, right? So there's the couscous. Probably one thing we forgot to do is reheat the.
It's reheating as we speak.
You guys are
As
amazing.
Here we
Amazing.
Yes. So here are the three dishes that we prepared. And I seem to recall someone talking about dessert earlier. So Rania actually has a plate of Tunisian sweets.
So these Tunisian sweets, we call them hlou. Hlou just means sweets in Arabic. They're very traditional Tunisian sweets, and I was so happy to find out that there is a Tunisian lady who makes these in New Jersey, and you can order them online. And they taste on point. And Rania and my favorite is on this plate. It's the simplest looking one, but it is oh so delicious. And the common theme here in Tunisian sweets is nuts. So these sweets are made with almonds or pistachio or hazelnuts. What do I have? Okay, and just phyllo dough and honey or and sugar, etc. So we have the Tunisian sweets, the meal, and then what we usually drink. Can you get the buttermilk, please? So what we usually drink at the end of a meal as a digestif, right, after eating a nice big meal, is green tea. And so we've prepared some green tea for you, but our green tea is special. We usually put pine nuts, that's what Rania is doing. We add pine nuts and mint leaves, and then we pour the green tea. So you can do that off camera and just bring it, maybe. And then the other thing that we do, have a quick glass.
Yeah.
So the other thing we do, and there were a couple of questions before we started about people asking me, what do you drink with this meal? Well, usually water, but couscous in particular, we actually drink buttermilk with it. And so, thank you, Tamara. So here is a glass of buttermilk. We call it el-ban. Sounds like labne, right? And that refers to dairy. Ben is, I think, fermented milk. And so usually, el-ban, couscous, we would have started with the briq and the slata meshwiya. And, after a couple of hours of eating a meal, you can't get up from your chair. That's been our experience for many summers in Tunisia. And so when you finally can get out of the chair and go sit in the living room, you're served a glass of green tea and some sweets.
It's interesting with the pine nuts. I've never seen pine nuts in tea before.
Yeah.
So do you eat them or do you just leave them in the?
You do eat them.
Okay.
Yeah. So as kids, when we were allowed to have this, right, we would usually go for the pine nuts because we didn't want the icky tea. But yeah, so lots of mints.
So maybe bring this up a little closer and they can see the.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so the
Okay,
pine
so
nuts
they're
tend to float.
floating, yeah.
Yeah, they tend to float, and you just kind of, as you're sipping, not taking big gulps, right? As you're sipping, you also will get a couple of pine nuts in your mouth. Yeah. It's nice to roast them a little bit before to bring out the flavor. And you're gonna have some. So give it to me. It's mine.
She's had dinner, she's had the sweets, now she's having her tea.
Exactly. And this reminds me of our favorite cafe in Sidi Bou Said, overlooking the Mediterranean, where we sit and sip tea with pine nuts, right?
That's right.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I know it's been a little over 90 minutes. And so we try to make these 3 dishes for you in this hour and a half, share a little bit from our family as well as our extended family from Tunisia with all of you. And if you've been following along and cooking, yay. And if not, and if some of these appeal to you, they will be available, correct, Tamara?
Yes, the video will be available by about Tuesday on our website. The recipes are available to you. And I just want to put a plug in for the next World Kitchen, which will be September 19th, and it will be a tribute to Mexico. So please join us then. Information about that episode will be up this week as well on our website. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.